Right. You know what's funny? I was sitting there looking at my phone and it started to vibrate, Just a regular call, nothing special. No caller ID, just a number. But I realized that for most of the people listening to this podcast right now, well, especially those of you born with a touchscreen in your diapers, that vibration is the sound of a nightmare, huh? It's like a ghost of Christmas past is calling to remind you that you actually have a voice box that is supposed to work in real time. We have become a generation of screen huggers, haven't we? We are so bold behind a keyboard, so unfiltered in our DMs. But the moment a real person wants a real-time interaction, well, we hide under the bed like a cat during a thunderstorm. It's fascinating, really. We spend hundreds of pounds on these devices, we call them telephones. I noticed the word phone in there, by the way, right? And we use them for everything, except talking. We check the weather, we bet on horses, we even scroll through endless feeds of people we don't even like. But a phone call? No, that's too intrusive and aggressive. So, we created this pathetic etiquette where you have to send a text message to ask permission to call. Hey, can I call you? Fuck off, mate. I don't want to talk. I'm too busy mourning the death of human spontaneity. We are so terrified of a silence, of a stutter. Oh, heaven forbid, and not having an undo button for our own stupidity. And don't even get me started on the voice notes, Those 3-minute monologues where you talk at someone because you're too cowardly to talk with them. It's a podcast for people who have no friends, We are losing the ability to react. We are atrophying the very thing that makes us social animals and replacing it with curated, edited, and sterilized version of ourselves that only exists in a chat bubble. We are not connected. We are just indexed. And if you think I'm being harsh, well, it's probably because you are currently staring at 3 missed calls with your palms sweating, aren't you? Pick up the phone, you coward. Or don't. The world is going to move on whether you're ready to speak or not, so?
Unfiltered outsider. Unfiltered outsider.
All right. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. And whatever else you're calling yourself today to feel special. Hello. I'm Noah. And frankly, I'm surprised you're still here. I would think after 9 episodes of me pointing out how pathetic your habits are, you would have found something more comforting to listen to. But no, here you are, like a glutton for punishment, waiting for me to tell you what to think because your own brain is too busy scrolling for dopamine. So, alright. Today we are celebrating the absolute peak of human evolution. The digital hermit. It's wonderful. We've reached a point where we'd rather send 50 emojis than spend 50 seconds hearing another person's breath. It's a spectacular year to be alive, really. We have all the tools to connect, but we are using them to build the most expensive high-tech walls in history. So, grab your overpriced coffee, make sure your notifications are silent so you don't have a panic attack, and let's dive into the pathetic reality why your generation is terrified of a ringtone. It's going to be a bumpy ride. And no, there is no skip button for the truth. Let's really dig into this, because I don't think you realize how deep the root goes. We reach a point where the sound of a standard ringtone, that default marimba, whatever generic noise your phone makes, is treated like a declaration of war. You see that screen light up, you see the name, or heaven forbid, an unknown number, and your first instinct isn't curiosity. It's resentment. How dare they? Why didn't they text me first? And then you stare at the phone as it vibrates on the table, watching it like it's a ticking time bomb. Waiting for it to stop so you can finally breathe again and send a cowardly little text. Hey, just saw your call. What's up? Mate, you didn't just see it. You watched it die. You sat there in silence, like a hostage to your own device, waiting for the digital safety of a text bubble. And you do this because you are terrified of the unedited version of yourself. See, a text is a laboratory, You can spend 10 minutes crafting a 2-sentence reply. You can delete. You can use ChatGPT to sound smarter. You can even add an emoji to hide the fact that you are actually fuming or bored out of your mind. It's a sanitized, filtered, faked version of human interaction. But a phone call? A phone call is a naked raw encounter. There is no backspace in a live conversation, If you say something stupid, it stays said. If there's a silence, well, you have to own it. And that is exactly what scares you, The possibility of a moment that you cannot control or create. And then we have the pre-call protocol, Because this is the new pathetic social contract where you have to send a telegram 3 days in advance, to ask if someone is emotionally available for a 5-minute chat. It's now a good time to talk? It's never a good time for you, is it? Because now requires you to be present. Now requires you to stop scrolling through 15-second clips of people doing stupid dance and actually engage your brain. We have professionalized our friendships to the point where they feel like LinkedIn meetings, We have sucked all the spontaneity out of life and replaced it with an appointment-only existence. If you can handle the intrusion of a friend's voice without a calendar invite, mate, you are not protecting your energy. You are just losing your humanity. And let's talk about the alternative you have created, because you have created one. The voice note. The ultimate monument to modern narcissism, I see you people walking down the street holding your phones in front of your mouth like you're eating a glass sandwich recording these 4-minute epics. It's a monologue, You aren't talking to anyone. You're talking at them. You want all the benefits of using your voice without any of the inconvenience of having to listen a response in real time. It's a one-way street of ego, You get to dump your stream of consciousness, and the sound of the wind hitting your microphone into someone else's ears, and then you expect them to find the time to listen to your mini podcast. It's the death of the dialogue, It's a conversation for people who are too self-absorbed to be interrupted. Think about the long-term cost of this, Because we are literally atrophying the social muscles that build the world, You think that people that built the pyramids or navigated the oceans did it through asynchronous communication? No. They talked. They argue. They heard the tone, the hesitation, the urgency in each other's voices. When you reduce everything to text, mate, you lose 90% of the information. You lose the soul of the message. And then you wonder why the people is so depressed and so lonely and misunderstood. You're not misunderstood, mate. You're just hiding. You've built a digital bank and now you are complaining that no one can hear you scream. Oh. And the phone is not even the problem, because the technology is fine. The problem is the coward holding it. You've become so addicted to the undo button that you have forgotten how to live in a world where actions have immediate consequences. You're scared of a ringtone because it's a reminder that there is a real world out there that doesn't care about your curated image. So, next time that your screen lights up, don't just sit there like a deer in the headlights of progress. Pick it up. Or don't, but at least be honest enough to admit that the reason why you want is because you are terrified of being found as the boring, the stuttering mess you actually are without a keyboard to save you. Now let's stop talking about society and let's start talking about you. Yeah, you. The one listening to this right now, Probably feeling a bit smug because you think I'm describing your annoying cousin, right? Or that cohort who can't take a hint. No. I've been talking to you. Sitting there with your headphones on, clutching that slab of glass and metal like it's a life support machine. Look at your hands. You spend more time touching that screen today than you have spent touching another human being. Am I wrong? So, you are part of this pathetic cycle of digital cowardice, huh? And the worst part is that you have convinced yourself that it's a personality trait. You call it introversion. And sometimes you call it social anxiety, you know? And you use these clinical terms to decorate your lack of a spine. Let's be fucking real for a second, mate. You aren't anxious. You're just out of practice. You spend so much time in your little digital echo chamber, you know, where you can edit every word and filter every blemish, that the idea of real unscripted human reaction feels like a physical assault. You're addicted to the read receipt power play. You love the fact that you can see the message, you know, feel the buzz in your pocket, and choose to leave that person hanging for 3 hours while you create a response that makes you look busy, or smart, or indifferent. It's a game of control for people who have zero control over their actual lives. But here's the truth you don't want to hear. While you're busy overthinking a text bubble, real life is passing you by. You're becoming a ghost. A series of data points and emojis. You think you are connected because you have 500 followers. But mate, if your car broke down on a dark road tonight, you would probably have a panic attack just trying to figure out how to call for help without an app doing the work for you. And don't give me that bullshit about protecting your energy, alright? Or setting boundaries. Your boundaries are just walls made of glass. You're so fragile that 3 minutes conversation feels like a mental health crisis. You have professionalized your friendships to the point where they are called as a corporate HR meeting, you know? It's now a good time to talk? Mate, forget it. This is a pathetic question. It's an admission that you are too weak to handle a surprise, you know? You want everything scheduled, sterilized, and safe. But guess what? Nothing meaningful in a human history ever happened in a safe space or through a scheduled Zoom call. And now you are probably sitting there listening to me, maybe feeling a bit offended. What is good? Because you have traded your voice for a keyboard and your soul for an algorithm, you know? You are a consumer, not a creator of your own life. You are just a spectator in your own skin. You spend your days consuming other people's content because you are too terrified to generate a single authentic and edited moment of your own. You are not misunderstood. You are just invisible. You hide behind your DMs and your stories showing the world a version of yourself that doesn't exist, you know? While the real you know, the stuttering, insecure, lonely version, sits in the dark, terrified of a ringtone. It's a tragedy, really. But hey, as long as your aesthetic is on point and nobody calls you without a warning, well, I guess you're winning a life, right? Fucking pathetic. Well, that's it. Episode 10 is done. I've said what I had to say, you know? And frankly, I'm exhausted by the mere thought of your collective insecurities. I'm sure some of you are already rushing to your keyboards to type out a long, emotional manifesto about how problematic this was, or how I don't understand your specific brand of digital trauma. Go ahead. Do your thing. Go to the Unfiltered Outsider socials at Unfiltered and find a post for this episode. And scream into the void. Tell me I'm a prick, tell me that I'm the only one with the balls to say the truth, or tell me that you're never listening again. I honestly don't care. If you liked it, fine. If you hate it, even better. At least you feel something for once in your sterilized, notification-driven life. The game is simple. Go to the comments and let me know if you're actually going to pick up the phone next time it rings or if you're going to continue living like a digital hermit. Tag me. Share it. Or delete the app in a fit of rage. Just do something that isn't sitting there in a catatonic state of indecision, right? Whether you come back for episode 11 or block me out of spite is entirely up to you. I'll be here either way. but I won't be waiting for your permission. Uninfluenced, Unpaid, Unfiltered. I'm Noah B. Jackman, and this is the Unfiltered Outsider.
Unfiltered outsider. Unfiltered outsider.